Okay, so my question is for El Doctor. I believe there's something that created us, but we don't know what created us. People call it God, Yahweh, and whatever, right? But the El Doctor had that clock theory, right? So if that clock theory is true, what happens to us when we die?
That's a good question. You know, do we truly die? Think about it, right? Like we dissipate right into matter. Does anything truly ever die? Like we break apart. For example, when you're buried in the dirt, right, your body decomposes, right?
Well, the body dies, right?
No,
But
you know,
then
well,
what? Yeah.
does it truly die, or does it break apart into a new form? Like, for example, like when we break apart in the soil, right? Fungus thrives off us, uses as nutrition, right? The soil becomes rich and vibrant, right? All these things happen that we just don't see because we're not dead. We're dead, we're not going to experience it. But if we were to look at it, we would see how literally we fertilize the soil. So did we ever truly die, right? Did we ever truly die, or did we take a new form? One that enriched the world and kept this process going on, right? We have stardust in us, right? We have stardust in us. We are made of stardust. There's strong mounting evidence to support this, right? So stardust is billions upon billions upon billions, trillions, whatever, quadrillion miles away, but somehow it's a part of us. So did that star ever truly die, or did it take on a new form, i.e. us and everything else it created or allowed to flourish, right? So again, it's possible that life is a clock with no craftsman and has always existed, and we never truly die. We just go on to take a new form, continuously existing. There is no end and there is no beginning. It just is.
Well, I believe the body dies, right? And like you said, it goes back into the earth and everything. But then there's something in the body which we call the spirit, right? Christians believe it's the spirit, the soul, and all this stuff. So that never dies. So what happens to that? If it never, if the spirit never dies, what happens to the spirit?
I mean, so I'm not going to dabble too much into theology because I feel like it's going to steer the conversation in like a completely different direction, unless Mava is open to that and fine with that. But I don't want to steer the conversation in a complete different direction than the current topic.
Well, I mean, if it gets out of hand, I'll let you know. You can continue.
Well, I'm not talking about religion, right?
No. I know. I just wanted to make sure because I don't. It's his party.
No. I know, but I'm not talking about religion. I'm just talking about. It has nothing to do with religion.
Okay. Just like that's fair. Okay.
If you die, right? Yeah. What happens to whatever is making that body, that energy source, whatever's in that body?
Do we have a soul though? Let's just put that in perspective. Like, do we have a soul? Like, or is consciousness nothing more than a byproduct of evolution, right? If life is a clock with no craftsman and has always existed and just continues on, right? Stardust, the star exploded, the star died, and somehow it cascades and causes effect where it fuels black holes, fuels us, creates us, et cetera, right? If this is true, in the same process when we die and we decompose and we feed the fungi, we feed the mycelium, we feed the earth, the bacterium, et cetera, right? All these things thrive. Did we truly ever die, right? And was there ever a soul? Is our experience of life nothing more than a byproduct of an evolutionary trait? Is it like we have Homo trilepsis, Homo habilis, et cetera? All of them could be argued that maybe they perceive some form of consciousness.
But El Doctor, what about what Roberto's saying there at the bottom? Roberto, you could just jump in when he's saying it, and if you want to disagree.
Okay, so what about ghosts then? Ghost is a living thing, right? Ghosts and spirits, right?
I've got a point. If I could just add quick.
But to answer Roberto's thing, hold on, I'm just reading real quick. But as humans are trying to understand, so I mean that could be true, right? It certainly could be the fact of the matter that we are goldfish in a bowl of water, trying to understand things, and we never truly will.
But what about his saying evolution is fake?
Oh, that part, evolution is fake, El Doctor. I mean, I think all things are true. It's possible. I, at this current time, believe evolution is fact, but I'm not going to say it's absolute. I could be wrong. If I was presented with evidence surely that it is, I would certainly accept it and embrace it. Just as I've always said, like when it comes to theology, I don't practice a religion, but I am open to the idea that one of them could yield truth. And should I find that connection or see the definitive proof, I would embrace it wholeheartedly. But till then, I open to the idea that this is my truth. But I'm open to the
Yusuf,
prospect.
what did you want to say?
Yeah, I got a question for a doctor in that what's interesting now is the governments and the schools, even here in Britain, they do this. I grew up with this. They teach evolution as a fact rather than what it is, which is the theory of evolution. When something is proven, it's known as a law, like laws of motion, for example. When it's a theory, it remains a theory, right? And the interesting thing, until today, it's still called the theory of evolution because they can't scientifically measure it, because it's said to take place over millions of years, which messes with the scientific method for being able to measure it and repeat it and stuff like that. They are unable to measure it completely. And that's why it still remains a theory. Yet, because of political narrative and governments and the schools, they've made it as a matter of fact, when until today it's not. They can't prove it, actually, that we came from
that was the case quite a long time ago, right? And so evolution is considered a scientific fact, right? In science, calling, like you said, something fact means
it's a theory. That's why it's called the theory of evolution.
Wait. It was called a theory at one point. It was
still a theory.
Wait, if I may, right? It was called a theory at one point, right? And we still ignorantly choose to say theory, but it has been proven, though, right? Based on the current.
How is it proven, though?
Okay, hold on. Let's give Roberto a minute to chat because he hasn't been talking for a while now. I think you should have the floor. That's okay. Go ahead, Roberto.
I don't have much to say except that I can't prove anything that happened 10 million years ago because I wasn't there to watch it happen. So I could sit here and try to sound like a pseudo-intellectual and come up with all kinds of bullshit to make people nihilistic. But the reality is there is an agenda. A lot of the so-called evidence that they have for evolution has been a hoax, like Piltdown Man, Nebraska Man. If you research a lot of different... there's been an agenda for a long time to make people... I'm only speculating it's to make people less connected spiritually.
Well, that's why I'm giving everybody a chance to speak. Everybody has their own opinion, so I appreciate everyone.
So to answer Yusuf, right? So the fact is that species have changed over time, and they share common ancestry. And how do we have facts? Well, we have fossil records, right? Fossils show gradual changes in species over a million years. We are the last Homo genus, right? Homo sapiens. And we can look at our Homo habilis, Homo etc. We can see our evolution, right? And then we have comparative anatomy, right, which correlates also with fossil records. We have genetics in DNA. We can see DNA sequences showing that all life share certain genes, right, and that there are closely related species that have more similar genes, right? We can observe in evolution on a micro level, right? It's directly observable. For example, bacteria evolving from becoming antibiotic resistant, insects evolving to become pesticide resistant, or changes in populations of animals in response to environmental pressures, right? Biogeography, right? We can see these things. Species do change over time, right? Now,
over millions of years, though. How do you measure that?
So the theory itself is, so evolution, right, is not necessarily the theory. It would be like the theory is natural selection, genetic drift, and gene flow, but they do go and explain how evolution happens. So in science, theory is not a guess, right? It's a well-supported explanatory framework. And evolutionary theory explains both observed changes and the patterns we see in fossils. So it is fact, right?
But I think what you should say, El Doctor, I think what you should say, El Doctor, is it's your opinion. You can't say it's a fact because
let me
that's where we're gonna cause. That's where we're gonna have problems.
Let me just put a quick comment.
I did say that in the beginning. I said that. Well,
I know, but you ended
sort of like that.
Yeah, but you ended your sentence with "this is a fact."
Yes.
Okay. Let me put a quick comment in that.
It's my truth, and I'm open. Let me rephrase that. So it is my truth, but as I said, I am open. If I'm presented with facts definitively, I am willing, wholeheartedly, not going to be ignorant, say, fuck that, I don't accept it. No.
I know,
you
but
can
what I'm
present to
saying
me
is because I've done this so many times, and once somebody's telling people it's a fact, that's where everybody's gonna start getting pissed off at each other, and it's gonna turn into a big fight. Vi, what do you
Okay,
want to
let
ask?
me say this, Mavaka. So
Yes.
you said species, right? But then, okay, so I kind of agree with you. Certain species, maybe there's a fact in certain species, but they didn't prove that in a human yet.
They did.
There's no proof that a human came from a
There is.
gorilla.
Where did
And a
they
monkey.
Well, we're not talking about a gorilla. So again, we see
No, I'm
evolution.
just, no, I, no, I,
They,
I know,
they
I'm
have
just
this
saying, right?
word, they call it common ancestor, which is bullshit. It's just a fancy way of saying, yeah, we come from monkeys.
Okay.
Oh, it was a
Yeah,
different
yeah,
kind
but
of monkey.
okay, so wait, Roberto. So maybe like certain species, like the frog or something, they came into something else. Like certain species, yeah, I can believe there's a fact in that, right? Certain species.
Yeah.
But when it comes to humans, like when it comes to humans, you cannot say humans came from, and you cannot say kangaroos came from. There's no fact that a kangaroo or a
They're
monkey
still
or
around.
a gorilla came from a
we
rat or
see-
something.
So
There's no
let's
proof
focus
in that.
on homogeneous. Let's focus on the homogeneous, right? Which is our species, right? Right.
Yes, so
we
there's so like
we've
our
had multiple-
species.
Yes.
that-
So we
so
are the
our
last
species.
humans. We are
Okay,
the
we're
last
the last
humans.
species, right?
Yes,
But then
we're
You
the
there's-
guys,
last
you guys are
species,
both
but we
talking at
look
the same
at our
time. Go like a
fossils.
minute
When we
each.
look
You guys are both
at
talking at the
all the
same
evidence,
time.
it shows an evolutionary development of us. Let's not focus on monkeys and
Oh, okay,
chimpanzees.
right.
Let's just focus on our species, right? We can
Okay,
see
so-
that the
Can I
we
say
can see the
something
proof,
here?
or the let me rephrase that, the possible proof. We can see the possible fruit. So I won't say fact, so I don't get Roberto's panties in a bunch. I don't want to upset
Al
you.
Doctor, we don't have to
right?
go with cheap shots.
Let's
Okay,
just say that
wait a
it's
minute,
the
Hold on,
possible
everybody,
truth.
hold
We
on.
see it
Everybody, hold on. Al
in
Doctor,
terms
hold on,
of
hold
the
on,
evidence currently presented,
hold on,
that
hold on,
it
hold on.
strongly suggests
Al
that it
Doctor, Al
more
Doctor.
likely not is fact
He's not listening.
that we have evolved over time.
Al
We see
Doctor.
that with the size of our skull,
Al Doctor.
right? We can see that it shows that there's been an increase in our size of brain over time, right? We can see it in bone structure, jaw development. When
I'm
you
gonna
look at
have to-
Homo
I'm gonna have to
habilis,
mute your mic
they
if
wouldn't be
you're
able to
not gonna keep quiet
articulate
for a
their words
second.
like us because of the jaw size, right? But as we see,
Okay, I'm sorry. I gotta mute your mic because you're not letting
Right,
anybody
what
else
happened?
speak. I tried to
Okay.
give you a warning, but you
Or
kept
maybe his
going.
background is noisy. I don't
Let's
know.
just go for a minute at a
So,
time
okay,
each,
so-
okay?
so
Because
let me
nobody
say
else
this,
is
like,
able to
that was
talk.
what he's
Hold
saying,
on,
right?
hold on,
So I'm just kidding.
hold on.
Okay, so let me say
Wait
this.
a
So
second.
like he's talking about the human species, right?
Hold on a second, Vi.
I mean,
I
there's
had to
proof
mute
that
his
the
mic.
humans-
I had to mute his mic because we're not giving anybody a chance here. Everybody's gonna start yelling in a second. Midu, I want to give you a chance because you haven't even said hello yet. You speak for a minute, and then I'll go to the next person.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, me too.
Hello, firstly. I'm afraid of like expressing my opinion over here.
No, go ahead.
so
go
That's
ahead,
the
no
problem. I didn't
Alright.
want people to be afraid. You speak whatever you want to
Yeah,
speak. It's your opinion.
It's not an argument. It's just whatever your opinion is.
Alrighty, okay. So for what he said here, doctor, for the evaluation, you're talking about that one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's talking about
I-
evolution. Like we came from, I don't know where he came from.
I'm sorry. I'm a little wonky, but I will say whatever I want to say. Just give me 1 second here. So I can say for what you said, part of it is really like existed here because it's well supported scientific theory, backed by some of the could be evidence from fossils, genetics, and observed changes in populations and so on. That's why when time passes and so on, I don't have that much about those things, but here I can say in the scientific community it's considered a fact that life on Earth has changed over time through natural selections and other, let's say, mechanisms, let's say. That's what I can say generally, but I'm not going to go deeper, but that's my part of opinion that I can say it's really
Okay,
like
so
Okay, so now if you could just mute your mic,
yes,
Midu, if you could
that is
just
what I was
mute.
trying to say. Just want to acknowledge that.
Okay, so if you could
like
just...
a summarization of what you said already.
Okay,
Just
Midu.
okay, so I agree with what you said, Minto, right? Because there's facts that there were cavemen, and the cavemen they're kind of like gorilla looking guys.
Oh wait,
I mean, there's actually facts, right? There's That's a
Yes,
true
but
fact. They had caveman, and the caveman kind of like lived in. They didn't live in the caves, but they call them caveman, right? And there's
So
facts.
so
They
one thing I want to
evolved.
mention is
there
that
are no facts, right? If
what-
we're
one thing-
avoiding
Everybody's
Uh,
speaking again at the same time. If
Okay,
everybody
one at a
can
time.
mute, if
Go ahead.
everybody can mute their mic, Youssef, go ahead.
Yeah, Yusuf, go ahead.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I just want to make a quick point about some of what Sammy mentioned, but this also piggybacks on what Doctor mentioned, is we're taking the appeal to authority, which is the government and their narrative and what they say to be a fact, as a fact, when we've not actually investigated it with the scientific method. And this is very pertinent for the past 5 years of scandals that have just took place with the COVID vaccine, which we now know as a fact from the same governments who said it was safe and effective, that it's in fact deadly and can cause blood clots, turbo cancers, and heart failures. It can make your heart explode. To 20-year-olds, it's happening all over the UK right now and every other country. And this is why we have to question what our governments put to us as facts, as government handed down appeal to authority facts, because what was once safe and effective is now dangerous and can end your life. Imagine the education system. We also have to question everything we thought we believed in, whether it's space, whether it's medicine, whether it's science. Everything is now in the ball game for that. And the big thing with this is, and this is what I wanted to mention earlier, here in Britain, they teach evolution as a fact, although it's still called the theory of evolution. They don't call it a law like laws of motion because it's not been proven. They can't prove it with the scientific method because it takes over millions of years. You can't measure something over millions of years. You can't replicate it. You can't test it. You can't have variables that you can measure. It's impossible. And the thing is, as well as with this, when you look at the chart of the early, the chimpanzees and the apes that they claim we evolved out of, and then the in-between species that they said existed, and then the end result, which is us humans, Homo sapiens, where are the species in between? Why don't we find them anymore? And this is why evolution, the theory of evolution, actually debunks itself, is because of natural selection. Natural selection says that the strongest of the creatures will kill all the others and become the dominant creature, right? So that's the theory. They say why the other ones no longer exist, like the Neanderthals. Okay, so why are the chimpanzees still hanging about? They were the weakest life forms of all of that chain. They're the very base 0 point of it, yet they're still around. But we don't see the middle ones in between. Where have they gone?
Okay,
The
so
humans are still still
let me give El Doctor a chance, and then Roberto, you're after El Doctor. Okay, El Doctor, go ahead.
Yeah, first off, I want to say that's not what natural selection means, right? It doesn't mean that one becomes the dominant race or species, right? It literally just means it's the process where organisms with traits better suited for their environment are more likely to survive and reproduce, and passing those beneficial. However, right, it doesn't necessarily debunk evolution, right? What it says is, like, obviously there may be certain species that will not thrive. They will not evolve adequately enough to survive their environment, or say they're natural predators. Thus, they will cease to exist, right? And we do see that in the insect kingdom. We see that in plants. We see it with all organisms on life. We see that, right? And again, we can look at it at a micro level, right, with bacterium, right, where it evolves to become resistant to antibiotic. So we can see the evidence of it. And again, I want to highlight this, right, because people have been throwing in facts, right? I heard Roberto say this is fact. The other gentleman, I don't know your name. Number two, right? You've used the word you used the word fact as well, right? So if we're abstaining from the term fact and we're accepting that all things can be true, right? Then we cannot speak from a factual point of view. I cannot. Roberto cannot. So we must all accept that we all technically could be yielding the truth in what we're saying.
Yeah, but then why are
And it
you
just
all
comes down
saying
to us.
facts
though,
then? Why
isn't there
are
an
you all not
objective
saying
reality, Doctor?
you should all be saying that it's your opinion then? You should not be saying it's a fact.
Yes, you're right. You're right. So I will clarify. My opinion is that evolution is fact, in my opinion.
Yes.
Based on what I've observed and based on the information that I've been made. But I am open to the prospect that Roberto could be 100% correct. He could be 100% correct, and should I see that evidence and it resonates with me, I will accept his opinion to be fact, and I would mutually share it with him.
Okay,
I'm completely
Roberto,
open
do
to
you
that.
have anything you want to add?
I just wanted to say that all things cannot be true. That's impossible. I mean,
I agree.
you could test it out right now. Go jump off a building and see what happens. You know what I mean? Like, that not, all things cannot be true. There's objective fact.
So I mean, earlier, I don't know if you were here, Roberto, when we earlier discussed with Brian, Yusuf, and Mara, we were talking about all these different possibilities, right? And we were all accepting that they could technically all be true. We can all be AI. We can all have achieved chime. We could be this, that, right? We're all exploring, saying it all could be true. So yes, technically, in theory, right, all truths can be true. It's possible, right, until proven otherwise. So all our conspiracies, all our theories, all the facts we claim that are come from our opinion could yield truth until absolutely definitively proven otherwise.
But
Yeah, I have a
Those are the
question.
ones we don't know.
I've
I
got
have a question. What happened if I told you Adam and Eve came from an alien nation?
But where did you get that information from?
True.
That's not a fact,
Wait,
right?
what?
That's your opinion.
Possibly.
You threw me with that one.
I mean, it could be true till proven otherwise, right? Until we have
Nothing about that
definitive proof that, you know, it could be true.
So,
I've got
so
a question.
if-
though. I've got a good.
no,
I've got a
nobody
good-
actually asked the question, where did Adam and Eve come from? The Bible says, you know, they made Adam from out of dust, and they took the bone from Adam and made it Eve and all that. But how do we know that the Bible is actually true?
But don't you
How do we
guys
also
think
know that it's not true, right? I mean,
Yeah,
how do
so
we know
that's
that
another
it,
thing, right?
Right.
And then, like, if you ask the Muslims, right, they have the Quran. So Muslims will say the Quran is true, right? And they all believe it with all their heart. But how do you know if it's actually true?
Yeah, and how do we know that
And
it's
then,
not?
and then you can get into an argument with them because they're gonna say, no, it's true, it's
It's
Allah.
true
and all
because
that.
it says it in the Bible, so you can't argue that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but then just because it says it in the Bible, that doesn't mean it's true. I can pull out a book and says, you know, Adam came from outer space, and I
No,
wrote a whole book, and 20 million people were reading the book.
It could be true, and there are people that would believe it, like Scientology,
Yeah.
right? There are people that could literally believe it, so
The
it
thing I
technically
wanna-
is true.
The thing I want to put forward is don't you think it's a problem in society when we take things from appeal to authority, from, oh, well, the government and the educational system and the healthcare system says thus, therefore it's true because they're the government, they're the authority, right? Yet the past 5 years has proven to us that that's a major problem. In the past 3 years, it's been a worldwide scandal at the very basic level. And now there's lawsuits of 244 million everywhere against Pfizer, AstraZeneca, you name it, Sinovac, BioNTech. You can pick a company at this point. They've all got lawsuits in the many hundreds of millions. And the point, this is what I want to get at of basic objectivity and, kind of fault lines on this. If the COVID scandals of the past 5 years are not a major shift for society as to why we should question everything, whether it be especially government, which have a very bad history of lying to people. This also affects the education system. This also affects the medical system, which was at the behest of governments and politicians. Doctors and nurses and scientists didn't have a choice about the vaccines they pushed out, which have now been proven to be deadly all over the world. They got mandated to do so. They had no choice in the matter. They had to do it. The government said, this is a fact. This is the truth. These are safe and effective. Here's what you do now. You work for us. That's how they did it all over the world. But now there are lawsuits all over. There are vaccine damage payment schemes in multiple countries, paying here in the UK. If you were injured or disabled as a result of vaccine COVID-19 vaccination, you get £120,000. Tax-free. Nothing in this country is tax-free. They have a similar scheme in the United States. They have a similar scheme in Canada. So I think this is one of the biggest reasons why we should always question government and always question
It's
the
not
narrative
just the
of-
government, it's any company, corporation, or person. Whenever they
Yes.
say it's a fact,
So
that's when you know it's bullshit. Roberto, go ahead.
Okay,
You
wait,
wanted to
wait,
say
wait,
something.
guys,
Hold on.
Roberto wants to
Roberto
say
wanted to say
something.
something. Yeah.
I just wanted to say, like, what number 2 earlier, like, I don't understand. Just because someone doesn't believe in evolution, automatically that means they're like this born again, like hardcore Christian, or like like, I don't accept evolution, but I don't believe in Abrahamic religions or pretty much any man-made religion either at the same time. So I just don't like how people have this. It's this binary thing, either some man-made religion or some man-made religion of science. I just wanted to say that.
So, I mean, my thing though is, if you're saying that's this binary thing, right, it's either or, wouldn't you technically fall into the category too, because you're not open to the idea, and I'm not saying that we're correct, that myself or number two is correct or anyone here is correct, but the fact that you're saying definitively, right, and you're saying objectively that I'm wrong and number two is wrong, then wouldn't you also fall to that you're limiting yourself as to what could be truth, right? Wouldn't it be better to say that all of us could be correct in our opinions until absolutely definitively proven otherwise? Do you have all the answers, Robert? I don't. I know number two doesn't. So I'd imagine certainly you don't neither. So all our truths could yield truth until definitively proven otherwise, which I don't think we'll ever get to that point that we can definitively prove 100% without a shadow of a doubt, down to the grain of sand, and even smaller than that, that definitively one of us is correct. So
I can tell you how to get the truth. I can tell you exactly how to get the truth.
Well, that's your opinion, though. That's your opinion how we can get the truth. But to answer yourself, I wanted to talk about, because as a clinician, right, I'll keep it a little bit within the realms of HelloTalk's policies. If it was a private party, I would go completely, down the rabbit hole with y'all. But, yes, did the COVID vaccine yield undesirable side effects that one could argue were by design? Certainly. Was it pushed down by big pharma and governments that wanted to make a profit on their portfolios? Absolutely. However, I would say you shouldn't just question it based on the last 5 years. We should question the truth since the dawn of time. There have been so many instances since the dawn of time of why we should not just blindly trust, right? Governments or organizations and et cetera, right? It's not just these. Certainly it highlighted for our modern times on a granular scale that was not just unique to, say, Americans, right? Someone in the British, someone in, Ukraine can relate and understand this and see how we were taken advantage of. But to clarify one thing, right, so the coronavirus in itself, right, we had an understanding of it's kind of like the common cold. In fact, it's one of the members, technically the common cold, to where it just constantly evolved. And also it was not as concerning prior to SARS to justify a profit in making the vaccine because it was seen as more as a net loss to these organizations. But then you have COVID-19.
Yeah, but let's steer away from COVID for a bit, because we're getting too much into the COVID.
I apologize.
And I know on HelloTalk we shouldn't really go that much into it.
Let's
just talk about something else other than COVID. Anything else is okay so far.
Yes.
Midu, did you have a question or anything? Number 7. You've been quiet for a while.
Yeah, Midu wanted to say something. Go ahead, Midu.
I was listening here until you dived a bit deeper in religion, but yeah, I'm listening. Just he was saying something here about the proven evidence and all of those things. I agreed actually on a point here when you said when you say something here, you have like your opinion, your own opinion, and there's like the otherwise. But all of us, we don't have 100% of the proven evidence.
No, nobody
That's
has
why
the
we cannot say.
No. That's why I'm telling people, don't say it's a fact. There is no fact. It's just opinion.
Yeah, there's no fact. The only way you're gonna find the fact, I tell you, the only way you're gonna find the fact is when you're dying, and then you get to the other side.
That's one of the things here. Yeah, that's one of the things here that we can say. Okay, that one is purely fact. But
that's purely
on the other
fact.
side here. Yeah, when we say something here which is opinions, and we try to ruffle some feathers here in order to listen to each other's opinion and say the conflict and contradictions and all of those things, but at the end there is no way to prove yourself 100% that is correct, because we're having a lot of aspects, I can say.
Me do. You know what? There are 2 facts of life, okay? And they are taxes and death. Those are the 2 facts I can tell you as a fact about life.
What is tatus? Tatus is like birth?
Taxes.
Oh, taxes.
Taxes and death.
What I was gonna say
those are the
is
2 for sure facts of life. Death and
Well, what I
taxes.
was gonna say, the only facts of life is you birth into the world and you die in the world.
That's what I'm saying. Death and taxes.
But do you truly ever die though? Do you truly ever die?
Well, do you come back?
I mean, no. Well, my thing though is, well, do you come back? Let's just say you don't come back. Let's just say maybe you do come back, but is it in the same way really that we understand? Right?
I don't know
Doctor,
anybody
what do you mean by do you really
Like,
die?
think about it
Everybody
like
dies.
this, right?
Everybody dies.
Everybody dies.
Well, no. Do you ever truly, like, let's just say, let's just assess that, right? Do you truly ever die, right?
Okay.
You're buried in the soil, you break down, right? Do you truly ever die?
You're dead.
Okay,
You're already
let
dead
me
at that
let me
point.
tell you. Let me answer that question, right?
I think he means
So
in a
if
philosophical,
you're gonna answer
like,
that
you know,
question, right?
kind of thing.
If you're gonna ask that question, do you truly die? I said this is what I know, right? This is not a fact, but this is what I know. When a person dies, their body either gets burned or they get buried into the ground. So the body disappears eventually. It turns back. It goes back into the ground, and
But you already
whatever
answered the
happens.
question. You already said you're dead. You already said you're dead.
Yeah. Okay. So wait
But
now.
are you truly
Okay,
dead?
wait. Let me finish. Let me
What do you mean
finish the
truly?
answer.
You're dead.
Okay,
Yes.
let me finish the answer. So when a person dies on this earth, the body gets destroyed, whether in fire or underground. It turns to whatever happens to the body's gone. But whatever is in that body that activates that body to live, that still continues on. And there's no proof about that because no scientist in the world can prove that there's a spirit or a soul. But they know that there's an energy source or something that makes that body move.
I'll be right
I
after
think
him.
they've proven the soul recently, though. They weighed all the bodies just as people were about to die, and they found that it got slightly increments lighter as the soul.
Oh, so they
left
did
the
prove
body.
it. Okay.
Yeah, they managed to prove it now. Yeah.
Okay, so now they proved that the soul. Now
it's not that you have a soul. So naturally, when you die, right, when you cease to be, you off gas, right? You start to break down. There's a cellular breakdown.
okay, you talking about the body. You're talking about the actual body.
But,
I'm talking about the soul.
It took place a couple seconds after life had ceased. So for that quick reaction, like it wouldn't be that quick. It'd be like, body decomposition. Maybe after a few hours or days, the gas is released. Your body starts to break.
Are you familiar with rigor mortis? Are you
No, so that's you're talking about all the body. You're talking about all body stuff, right? I'm talking about stuff that you don't see, like the soul. That continues on. So if you're talking about if you're still alive and you're talking about the soul, yeah, the soul still lives. You don't die. The soul continues on.
Rigor mortis is like when the body gets stiff after dying, right?
Yeah, but that's a body, right?
Yes, I'm saying
That's
there's a
not a
process that
soul.
naturally
That's a
happens
body.
Immediately after you die, you cease to be. There is a natural process that starts to occur that leads up to a chain of events, right? So you're naturally
You're talking about the body.
Yeah, so
You're talking about the actual material.
Naturally, when someone dies, they're going to soil themselves, especially if the bladder is full, if there's fecal matter left over, because your muscles just completely relax, right, upon initial death. And you're going to naturally expel these fluids, right? There's going to be pooling. There's going to be a lot of factors that's going on. You're naturally going to off-gas a little bit. There's going to be some cellular off-gassing going on because cellular respiration is still happening despite you are dead, right? And then eventually when it reaches a certain point, when there's no longer viable energy to promote cellular respiration, then yes, all these other things start to set in, such as rigor mortis, etc., and whatnot, right? So yes, you're going to lose a little bit of weight initially after you die, just a natural process. That doesn't necessarily correlate to that there was a soul and had weight. So if that's the case, then how much does a soul weigh, right?
Okay, let me ask you a question then. If I take out your heart, can your body live? No, right? The answer is going to be no.
Heart back? No.
Okay, yeah, it's no, right? But then I can transplant a different heart into you, somebody else's heart, and your body still can pump, and it still can live, right?
But
but then if I take out the soul, like Yusuf said, right? Then the body cannot function. I don't care what parts you replace into a body.
Where does the soul lie, right, in the body?
So that's another question. Where does it lie? But whatever energy or whatever source or soul or spirit that's in that body, once that thing leaves, that's it. Your body's dead.
Doctor, do animals have souls?
Wait, who asked that?
Me, number one.
Mavaka asked that.
I mean, it's a good question. I mean, if we're going to argue that, all living things have a consciousness, one could argue technically they have a soul. Right?
So when an animal
right? One
dies,
could
is it
argue.
truly dead?
But again, I never took the position of saying, that we have a soul, right? I never took that position. So, do we have a soul? Great question. I really don't have an answer definitively for that, right?
No, because
I'm open to the idea that we.
You said that. Oh, are we truly dead when we die, or do we truly?
Yeah, no.
Truly
So again, but because again, so let's just say even if we don't have a soul, right? Death, right? Do we ever truly die? Let's just say we do have a soul.
But then,
right?
But that's
where
like
does the
me
soul?
asking.
Wait, where does the soul? Where does the soul go? Does the soul die itself, or does this? So let's just say the Abrahamic or any religion is correct, right? And when you die, your soul goes there, right? So did your soul die? No. So technically, you're still alive.
So that's what I'm saying. So if an animal has a soul, the animal is not truly dead either?
One could argue that that's the case, but what I'm saying though is I'm speaking on the physical level. Did you ever truly die, right? For example, like we have stardust in us, right? We can see that. It is proven.
You're talking about material stuff. The stardust.
No, again,
stardust is a material.
The Earth itself, wouldn't the Earth itself be stardust?
It's a material. You're talking about material stuff.
I'm speaking from a physical perspective. Did we ever truly die? Right? Let's say you're not fumigated, you're not put in this box that prevents you from naturally decomposing and becoming a part of the environment, right? Let's just say you're given a natural burial where you are buried in the dirt, you break down, bacterium thrives, fungi thrives off of this, right? Maggots, right?
But that's a material.
So you become part of the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So did you ever truly physically die?
Yes.
Right? Or did you just take on a new plane of existence or a new purpose to serve post-mortem, right? Did you ever truly die? But if we're getting into the aspect of the soul, and let's just say we took in theology into perspective and said that it's factual, right? Let's just say we were, not that I'm saying it is, and there is an afterlife, then the soul never truly dies, so you're never truly dead. You just go into a different plane of existence, right? You're not dead, so you never truly die in that perspective. So what is death then if it does not occur? If we break down on a physical level to fuel the environment, to feed the insects, the fungi, the bacterium, etc., and if we did have a soul and it goes on to a different plane of existence, then we never truly died. We merely just ceased to exist in our current form. We took on a new form at that point. We've broken down and we went elsewhere.
You're right. I have no idea what that means, but I'll just pretend I do.
So the answer to what I asked you though about animals then, is it the same for animals as it is for humans according to you, doctor?
I would say, well, naturally, does their bodies break down? Yes. Do they fuel the ground around them and the insects and the bacterium and fungi? Yes. So I would say, in theory, on a physical level, animals never truly cease to exist. They just go on to take a new form. Again, we're all made up a lump sum of cells, right? Tissues, muscle, right? It all breaks down to a cellular level, right? We just go on to take on new forms. We break down, we feed the soil around us, and the rest is history. A chain reaction of events.
I have another question. Do you believe in what's that belief the Asians believe? You die and you come back as somebody else or a different entity?
Reincarnation?
Yeah, reincarnation. Do you believe in that?
Well, that's not just Asians. Catholics are the same.
Well, I mean, in general, I would say it's not an impossibility. Possible, but do I believe in it? I don't. But I would say, it's not impossible.
So you don't believe?
I don't have the answer to that.
But you do believe that the body never truly, or the person never truly dies.
I'm saying on a physical level. Like now, if we're saying reincarnation, then we're talking about a soul, right?
Spiritual.
Your soul. Level. Yeah. So we're talking from a spiritual perspective where we have a soul. Then reincarnation could be a thing, but again, I'm speaking just from when I'm saying that we never truly die, I was speaking from a physical point of view.
Okay,
the physical said our bodies.
Okay, so say you're saying that we truly don't die, like completely. So if somebody gets cremated and they spread their ashes into the ocean or wherever, what happens from there? how are we still truly still?
It's still the
sort of
material,
alive?
right? And those ashes have sodium deposits compository, right? That can naturally integrate itself into the ocean, right? If you were to bury the ashes, it can act as a fertilizer, right? Ashes
so-
You
can
can't put yourself back
post
together
fire. What do
again.
you see usually happen when you see a
Okay,
fire happen?
here's another question. If you
Wait,
die and
I
you
get what
spread
he's
the
saying.
ashes in the ocean, and the fish eat the fish eat the ashes,
Then it
ashes
becomes
eat the
fish now.
fish.
Then the lingering sodium deposits that are left over from the ashes technically fuel them and provide them with energy, right? And
Okay,
the
so
cycle
now
just
you eat the
continues.
fish. So that means, like, if Mavaka dies and his ashes go in the ocean,
Give
and
somebody
the
else
fish
an
eat
example,
him,
man.
and sorry, Mavaka,
Morbid, man.
and then and then I eat the fish. So does that mean Mavaka goes into me?
Hell, you know what? How about you die and you go into the ocean,
There is a
man?
point here,
Why
guys, by the
you?
way.
Why me,
And then
man?
when you poop and it gets flushed and it goes out to the ocean, the little guppy over there is gonna have a field day. You know, some plankton, some other things, right? The cycle of life just continues.
Yeah, but what you're describing is it's still people still die. You're just talking about that their physical matter never leaves the earth. It remains.
Yeah,
It's
that's what
doesn't
you're
truly
talking
die.
about.
That's what I'm trying to say is we never truly die in the sense of a physical plane, right? In theory, right? Let's just go with that. Let me say in theory, right? To satisfy, right? In my opinion, we never truly die because the physical body breaks down. It fuels other things and it goes on to benefits, you know, everything else, and that cycle just continues and continues and continues.
When you die,
endlessly.
everything dies. Your brain is dead. Your brain dead.
Yeah, everything's
your
dead.
lungs are dead. Your heart
Wait,
is
hold
not
on.
beating
Do you not
anymore.
break down? Wait, do you not break down? Right. So if it's truly all dead, right? There's nothing to give. It's all
just bones.
just
Yeah,
dead,
they're just bones.
right?
Skeleton.
Wait,
yeah.
hold on. But does a dog not chew on a bone? The calcium this calcium deposits that still linger in the bone marrow.
Yeah, but the bone's not
yield
alive.
to it.
I got a simple question for you then, doctor.
Yeah.
What's the difference between if I have a person next to me and a chair next to me? What's the difference?
The chair's made of plastic and you're not.
Okay, so
Exactly. That's my
okay,
point.
by
It
what you're
makes sense,
saying,
though.
okay, so wait, so
That was
so
me making
doctor,
a joke.
by
That
what
was
you're
me making
saying,
a joke. I was
doctor.
being sarcastic.
Okay, so doctor,
But-
by what you're saying, the
Yes.
tree does the same thing. If you cut down a tree and you chop
Yeah.
up the tree and you spread it all over the woods, the tree becomes fertilizer for the other trees.
Yes, it does. And then
Okay,
it
but
doesn't
then-
feel like-
But then now, if it's a body, right, and it turns into ashes, the ashes has no. They have no what you call that? Fertilizing things to feed the earth.
You sure about that?
Nobody eats ashes.
Are you sure ashes do not fertilize? Do you know
Well,
what's
it's-
in ashes? So do you know what technically still lingers in ashes, right? It's
Well,
a
what's in
physical
ashes?
thing,
I was gonna
right?
say
It's
it.
potassium and calcium and sodium, right? All of which yield what's necessary. So for example, right, how ashes fertilize soil, right? So when you look at, let's say, any forest fire, what's one of the first thing you see occur, right? Mycelium redevelops and flourishes. You can see this, right? Mycelium overcomes, and then you see grass come, right? Because why? Because of potassium, calcium, and sodium, right? It balances out pH adjustments for the area, right? So ashes raise soil pH, which is beneficial for acidic soils where certain nutrients may be like locked up. Let's call it that, locked up for lack of better words, right? And its nutritional boost. Wood ash contains essential plant nutrients like potassium and calcium and phosphorus, right? All of which is essential for mycelium, and mycelium plays an instrumental part in the development of plant life and its ecosystem, right? So it does yield nutritional benefits depending. So technically,
Well-
yes, if you were to eat ash, you're technically consuming some potassium and calcium. I wouldn't recommend it. Don't do it. But my point is, it does have nutritional balance, and how even if you are cremated, you still go on to benefit life itself. So if I were to throw your ashes in the ocean, I am benefiting the ocean because it does have potassium and calcium, to which is rich for the fish that are there that are going to consume it
Okay,
and
so-
interact with
Okay, but hold
Okay,
on,
so
hold on.
you're telling me-
Let me ask you something. If you said you truly never
Yeah.
die, then can you actually come back as yourself?
Well, I'm talking from a physical perspective. I'm
Yeah,
not talking about
physically.
soul and spirit.
Yes, physically. Can you come back as yourself physically?
Well, from that perspective, no, because you took it on a new form, right?
So you're dead.
Sure.
So that body is dead.
then
You're dead.
so
That
then we
person
die.
is dead.
No.
So logically, no.
Yes.
Right.
Okay,
so that
so
person
Gary,
is
Gary,
dead.
here's another one.
Okay, let's say this. So
Okay,
your current
wait a sec.
your
Wait a sec.
current, your current sense of existence does cease to exist in its
Right.
current form, right?
Right. So you're dead.
You, Mava, the human body ceased to exist. However, to say you entirely did cease to exist would not be correct, because you still are breaking down the potassium, the calcium that all makes you, the sodium, right? The phosphorus that all makes you, the iron, the zinc that's all makes you, right? Magnesium, all these things that are in you that make you who you are,
Were
break down
who you were.
and
Okay, so doctor,
break down.
if
But
you
that is a part of
whatever
you.
you're saying, if it's true, then why aren't they using ashes to fertilize the apple
do.
tree and
They
the
do.
fruit trees?
They do.
Guys,
In fact,
there are a lot of
known
aspects.
cultural
Can I say
practices.
something here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
go ahead.
Me too wants to say something.
The sulfuric acid, right?
Oh no, it was Robert wants to say something. Go ahead, Robert.
No. I meant to say sulfur, right? This is what they use to fertilize.
Yeah, but Mido wanted to say something also.
Mito wanted to say something first. He actually went first.
Okay. Not a specific thing here, but let's say for the question of whatever we truly ever die, say it's that crossword of biology, philosophy, or in the part of the spirituality here, because we've got a lot of opinions here. When we die, let's say, from the let's say the biological standpoint, we are all like here. We don't come back to life, and we cannot. It's impossible to be getting back to the same form that you were. Let's say here, because here, every cell in our body has already like let's say a finite lifespan.
That's right. So you're
correct
dead.
in that way, like like skin cells is left off after a few weeks, and red blood cells circulate for about 4 months as well. Yeah, a lot of things in here, so it's really like done. It's a dead end here.
Right.
But when it comes to the religious and the spiritual traditions, I'm not gonna go deeper, but I will say a little bit about that here. However, take the soul as a literal, or let's say non-physical essence that gives us moral worth and consciousness, let's say. Because here, if you looked in the Christianity or in Islam, the soul is created by God, and we all know that. And after death, moves to either heaven or hell. But at the end, it's the soul. We cannot say that we were like there's a soul, it's existed and so on. It's yes existed, because everything is evidence. It's not the same thing here to be saying, okay, I can see this proof of evidence, so it's correct. It's not about seeing that. It's not about the side. It's not about being tangible. Because I can say the proof of evidence could be something else already existed, but you cannot see it. Getting back to the same topic again, which is you were saying about both, whether you'll be like, if you're like, let's say, after death, you'll be like just a, let's say, crosp or kind of like skeleton, let's say.
After
all of this
say
process.
Hello to Khalid, number 7. Hello, Khalid. You can jump in anytime, okay?
Oh.
I don't even know if he knows.
So let me raise this in Maver and Meadow and Roberto and number 2, right? Also, John hasn't said anything either. Hello, John. So would you say that the calcium, the zinc, the magnesium, the phosphorus, all that's inside of you makes you because it's a part of you? Would you agree to say that?
That's
your
a part
bones.
of
Yeah,
you.
when
That's
you're
a part of
alive,
you.
yeah.
Okay,
But when you're dead, it's nothing.
Does the calcium in your bones completely die with you? Does it just cease?
I believe it dies with you.
No. Does it cease to exist completely? Like it's gone? It's not there.
Yeah, once you die,
It's
there's
not the
no
calcium
calcium.
that keeps you alive.
All right. So here, number 2
No.
before.
Again, no. I'm asking the specifics. So we're not talking about keeping you alive, right? You just agreed that you'd say, yeah, it's a part of you, right? Because it's in your body, right?
It's part of you.
So when you cease to exist, when you breathe your last breath, your heart stops beating, there's no neurological activity, you are dead, there's no circulation, does the calcium in your bones also cease to exist as well? Does the magnesium
They die.
and zinc, So there's no magnesium and zinc in your
Your
body when you
bones
die.
dissolve
There's
also,
nothing left.
right? Your bones dissolve also through time.
You don't see anybody eating.
No. I'm asking, but again, it breaks down. It doesn't completely just cease, right? If I were to put you in the earth, you're going to break down, and there's going to be life forms. The environment
There's no
itself.
life form.
There is no life
Yes. Okay.
form.
So there's no insects. Okay. There's
There's-
no insect.
Do
There's
you
no
know
insect.
anybody
he's
who
mean
eating
about
cow
about
bone?
him.
Nobody
There's
Can
eats
I
no
cow
answer
bone.
right after you?
So there's no mycelium that
There's
starts to
nothing.
thrive off the corpse, really. Okay.
You see anybody eating a cow bone or duck bone or like
Wait, hold
There
on.
is
pig
a-
bone?
there's a
Bone
point
has
here.
there's no nutrients in bones.
Okay.
Yeah, but even if the insects eats the calcium or whatever, then I mean, what about cannibalism? Somebody eats somebody else. Does that mean that person's going to still survive, or what? I don't understand what we're
Again,
talking about.
you're focusing on it. Listen to what I'm saying.
You said
I'm
calcium.
talking about the physical. I'm not talking about the spirit. I'm not talking about spiritual, right? I'm talking about from the physical level. You never truly cease to exist in that capacity. When you die and you're buried in the earth, your body begins to break down. The calcium starts to break down along with it. It separates from the bone.
Yes.
And what happened?
You
The
existed,
insects, the
but you don't
soil, the
exist anymore.
fungi, they all interact with your body, thriving off what is remains after you, in your current form, cease to exist. So in a sense, you become the energy for the soil, for the fungus. You don't truly cease to exist in that capacity. I can agree with you that if there is a soul and it leaves the body, right, you could say that that's dead. But then where does the soul go? Does the soul also cease to exist? If we're going to believe in Abrahamic religions, which I'm not trying to make this a religious discussion, but let's just say if that were true and there is a heaven and hell, then your soul does not cease to exist. It just goes to a different plane of existence, i.e. heaven or hell or purgatory, right? So it doesn't just cease to exist. So in the same fashion that if we were to accept that there is a soul, and it does not cease to exist because it goes to a different plane of existence. If we're going to accept that there's a soul, then we must also accept the fact that your physical body doesn't truly ever cease to exist. It just goes on to take a new form that thrives, that helps the environment and other species
Your
thrive
soul
as well.
is in heaven, but you're dead on earth. You're dead. You're dead.
Okay, I'm talking
Okay,
about from the physical
doctor. Let's say what you're saying is true. After you die and your body has all these nutrients, it goes into the earth and it reproduces. Okay, now, so why don't they burn the body and get the ashes and feed it to the apple trees and the fruit trees and the vegetable trees?
Because here there are beliefs in religions and traditions in our beliefs. let's say, or in our faith.
I agree with that, with the religious purpose, right? But then I agree with you, the religious, they don't do it because of religious purposes. But then if it's actually nutrients, why wouldn't the people who don't believe in religion?
So in common religious practices, they may not know what happens when they do it. They just practice.
No, I'm not talking about the practice part. I'm not have nothing to do with religion.
Let's just say so the cremation happens, right? And
what I'm saying. Try listen to what I'm saying. It has nothing to do with religion. If your body has nutrients and you burn the body and it's ashes and the ashes have nutrients, wouldn't you take that ashes? Listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying.
So let me ask you a question. Let me
finish. Wait, let me finish, and then you guys can talk. Okay, so
right.
now after you, let's say the ashes have nutrients, wouldn't a scientist or this archaeologist, scientist, whatever, wouldn't they would discover that you can use the ashes to feed the apple tree and the orange tree and everything?
In fact, I implore you to look up right now where you can actually have your body cremated and put into the soil to plant a tree where they use that, right?
But then the tree doesn't. There's no nutrients in the ashes.
I'm answering your question.
Go ahead.
Right? So in feudal era Japan, before they started using, a canister or a can or something to contain the ashes post, they would spread it out amongst the soil and they would note, and you could find this in early Japanese texts that are written where they noticed that the trees, and they took it as that they went on to fuel the life around them, that they are still present, and that gave a cause to a lot of Japanese folklore in relations to how the mind, the body, and soul is still a part of this plane of existence and continues on to thrive amongst its land and whatnot. So that was before they would put the in a some type of container to contain the ashes. It was common practice that they would spread it out. So it is known, and again, there is scientists that actually do, like, there are organizations that if you were to get your body cremated, like let's say in the United States, it's Ashes for Trees. It's an organization. Look it up, where you can get cremated.
Okay, I know what you're saying. Okay, I know what you're saying. That's freedom with Japan, right? They're not doing it to fertilize the tree. That's a spiritual practice.
They didn't know, but then they saw it, and then they built folklore on the basis of this, saying, "Look at this."
No, what they did that. So the Chinese do the same thing before. And the Koreans did the same thing.
You're acknowledging what I'm saying, though. It does enrich the soil. They just didn't know what they were doing. Again, it's like me as a child.
Wait, let me finish what I'm saying. It has nothing to do enriching the soil. That's a spiritual practice.
But it doesn't
That
take
was a
away from the
religious. That was a religious practice.
Again, it's a religious and spiritual practice, but it doesn't take away the results of it. While they're doing it on the basis of religion or spiritual practice, nonetheless, it doesn't take away what results it actually ended up yielding. Right?
You know how feudal Japan fertilized their. They used the shit that came out of your ass.
That's not the only thing. Again, that's not the only.
That's what they use. That's how they fertilized their.
You're beating around the bush. It's not.
I'm telling you, that's the truth. I studied about Japan.
Doctor, he's trying to say here, you want a straightforward answer, biologically why, not in a spirituality one.
Yeah.
So again, I'm giving a straightforward answer. I'm not speaking from a spiritual perspective. I'm saying, granted, did they do these things on the basis of a religious or spiritual practice? Yes, they in fact did. However, we cannot dispute the fact of the results that it yielded when they spreaded the ashes upon the soil or buried it amongst the soil or do it. Right? We can't dispute that. They don't know. They didn't understand what was happening. They perceived it as God or whatever spiritual entity is the one producing the results and that they're making it happy. But we now know that that isn't the case. This wasn't the cause of a spiritual entity or a godly being. It's just naturally the ashes had potassium, phosphorus, and all these other things that are rich for the soil and allowed for it to thrive. Again, while they did it innocently, yeah.
Well, I don't think so. I think it was the human that fertilized it.
Which religion anywhere in the world, or which cemetery anywhere in the world, does it say born on a certain year and partly dead on a certain year? Every tombstone would say born and died. How could you say that you're only partly dead? This is what I don't get.
Again, so if we're going with the whole thing, the concept of death, right? We go with, when you die, you cease to exist. But
We're going to start over again.
You're mixing up ashes with human waste.
Again, no. So again, Maverick brought up a different point. So let's focus on one thing at a time then, right? So you're bringing up, like, why didn't do it? Again, let's look at theology back then, right? And as it was created, Abrahamic religions. Did they take into consideration that we would one day travel to the stars, that we would dive into the ocean, we'd do all these things, all these advancements, we'd have a computer, we'd have HelloTalk, we'd have internet? No, these things just came with time and whatnot. But at that time, they went based on their limited understanding. Again, their perception of death was simply on the basis of this person can no longer speak or move. They just cease to be. They are gone forever. Just a simple rudimentary focus. But what I'm saying, though, is, again, you acknowledge the fact that when you die, there is still calcium, phosphorus, zinc, and iron in your body. Where does it go? Does it just also cease to exist as well? That's not the case. Again, what does fungus thrive on? Phosphorus. It thrives on magnesium and zinc, and it feeds off your body. Hence why we see fungus develop around corpses after they die and they've been buried naturally. Why do we see insects move towards it? Because they want to eat the enriched calcium and sodium deposits that still linger in the skin and the body, right? So again, there is a process. You don't truly cease to exist in a sense of a physical sense. Your cells, those things still exist.
Right.
Okay, so like you said before, a dog eats a bone. Are you saying that it's actually a human that a dog is eating?
It's a human. Wait, sorry, what?
So when a dog is eating a bone, is that actually a human bone that the dog is eating because that has calcium in it, right?
Yeah, well, if it's a human bone they're consuming, yes, it's a human bone.
So a dog bone is a human bone?
You know,
No,
a
again,
dog,
no,
a
we're
dog
not
that
talking
eats a
about dog.
bone.
If a dog is
A
eating
dog
any
doesn't
type
eat
of
the bone.
whether
A dog eats
it
the meat
chews,
around the bone.
it chews on it and its calcium deposits, the bone breaks up, they digest it.
I don't know any dog that digests bones.
Really? Okay, so no, when a dog is chewing on a bone, as it breaks apart into little tiny little fragments, as they're swallowing, they don't swallow at all. The calcium doesn't enter to the saliva glands, doesn't enter
All the dogs
mucus.
I know, they suck the bone because they like the taste,
Oh,
and they try to chew the bone because they like the taste.
Yes.
But then the
okay,
bone
but
is
what-
dead. There's
what-
nothing in the
what-
bone.
No, there's no calcium in that bone.
There's no. It's a
But
dead
the
bone.
bone isn't
So what
human.
what is the bone? What is the bone made
that
of
they're
then? If
chewing
it
on
is
is not
dead,
human.
what makes the bone the bone? Answer that. If the bone is dead and it's nothing, then how is the bone physically there?
First of all, is that bone
How does
from a
savage
human?
speak?
Are you telling me that the bone is from a human?
No,
that
no,
the
no,
dog
no.
is
Okay, I'm
chewing
answering
on?
this question. So again, if a dog happens to chew on a human bone,
No,
right?
that's not what I asked you. I asked you when a dog chews on a bone. Are you telling me that it's a human bone? No, right? It's not a human bone.
It's any kind of
we're not
bone.
talking- Okay, it could be any kind of bone. So whatever it is that died,
Sure.
whatever that was killed,
Oh, that's
then,
died. That
broken
died.
apart.
You said that's died. That died.
Yeah, it's died,
Okay,
right? It's
again,
dead.
I'm talking
So
from
it's
your
dead.
Perspective, it's dead. The thing is dead, right? Again,
It's
you're
done yourself, doctor.
I'm having a question here. Excuse
There's
me.
obvious gaslighting going on, but okay.
Okay, wait. Let's the next person have a question. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. You're all like mentioning the bone and bone, but here you were saying about the calcium and the zinc, which are all like will be lingering in your body once you're dead. Let's say when you're dead.
Yeah.
Those things will be lingering in your body again. So they are lingering in the joints actually when it comes to those things here. Because he asked a question, but I didn't answer here for the calcium and zinc or all of those things on sodium and so on aren't alive. They don't die, but when we do, they just get shuffled around when a body breaks down. The calcium
Yes,
that
exactly.
was locked in bone can stay as let's say mineral fragment for years and eventually dissolve into soil, while the zinc that was in enzymes, let's say, and cells gets released into the surrounding tissue and eventually joins in the environment for the water, soil, plants, and so on. So in short, here we can say the elements stick around only the organized
Yes, but didn't
biological
those elements
structures.
make you?
Okay,
But did those
I have a question. So if you find a bone in the middle of the desert and it's all dried up, does it still have calcium even though it's dry?
It depends, by the way.
Yes.
It depends
So-
on how long this is. How long did it in the desert?
So let's say if
How
it's
long
like
ha-
5
Mhm.
years in the desert, 2 years or whatever, right? Like
No way.
this.
No way.
So
Theoretically,
eventually
no
the
way.
calcium disappears, right?
Yeah, sure. Disappear right after. No way. In this kind of period, no way.
But
To
it
be
doesn't-
lingering.
but when you're buried in the dirt, right? When you're buried in the dirt, right? Let's just say you're not put in a coffin, almost immediately, right? After you are buried in the dirt, immediately you're going to have microorganisms that are moving towards your body to consume these things, to benefit from it. So yes, in theory, let's just say you were buried in an area where there's no existence of any microorganisms. Yeah, technically there's going to be nothing left at a certain point. But in majority of cases, there are microorganisms that can be found in everything. The sand, right? The ocean, right? We could find microorganisms literally everywhere. So they're going to thrive off your decomposing body.
Okay, guys,
So
we're
my
approaching.
case was-
Hold on a second. We're approaching almost 3 hours, and it's almost 2 a.m. here. So we're gonna go for 2 more minutes, and then if you guys who are listening at the bottom as well, if you want to follow me, I'll send you a notification when I go live. As well as you guys up top, make sure you follow me. I'll send you a notification. I'll probably come back
It's a
again
big
tomorrow.
honor for sure.
But 2 more minutes, and then we're gonna kill the stream. Okay?
Okay.
We're gonna kill it.
Yeah. Oh no, partly. We'll partly
gonna
kill
die.
it. We'll kill it partly.
Truly died.
Just
You
partly.
never truly died.
Just
Just
partly.
Still
stand
chew on
by.
its bones.
It's gonna die until tomorrow.
Still got nice chewy bones though.
Yeah, but I'm running out of calcium.
I would rather take carry on this page and something else.
Well, again, if you guys want
Since
to
we're
talk, we
like,
got 2 more minutes,
over here.
and then again, we're going to be back tomorrow. So if you guys want to chat about this or whatever else, go ahead.
It's gonna reincarnate tomorrow.
Yeah, please. Coordinate the fight for tomorrow.
Doctor.
Yeah, what's up?
Just put it off till tomorrow.
What
Yeah.
what kind of monkey was your ancestor?
Sorry, what?
I don't. To be honest, I think some of these gorillas in the zoo is smarter than humans.
Apparently.
You're not wrong.
You ever go to go to a zoo? Even the lions. You ever look at a lion? The lion is smarter than humans.
But when they die, are they partly dead? The thing is, at least everybody kept it civil. We could have got so pissed off at each other, but
Yeah.
tonight was actually very, very
Yeah.
calm.
Yeah.
I did enjoy the conversation.
Well, I mean, again, everybody has their own opinion, right? So everybody's free to chat.
The conversation never truly died.
Yeah.
Just partly.
It's still alive. It's
Still
fluctuating.
And it's still irritating inside us.
The conversation is
it's a part of us.
fluctuating.
Yes, it is.
You know?